Hey, what's up, Exit the Matrix family? Bob here. Hey guys, I hope you're having a great day. Thank you for joining me on this morning talk. I hope you guys had a good Father's Day weekend. Sorry I hadn't dropped a video for a few days. I actually had a video to drop on Saturday. I went ahead and deleted it because there were a few things in there that I just knew I wasn't going to be able to publish. And so I think I'm going to try to go back at that stuff today, but just a little more careful. But I didn't do any other videos this weekend. I was just really just spending time with family. With all the tough things we've been dealing with as a family lately, it was good just for a weekend just to kind of set all that aside. And I just gotten our pools, cleaned up and stuff. We have an above ground pool, nothing fancy, but big enough to swim in. And so we hung out in the pool this weekend and avoided towns, doing anything around town this weekend just because of all the stupid protests all over, right? But anyways, we're back here on Monday. We're back at it. So anyways, guys, so what I'd been talking about was revelation in the Bible. And like those of you that know me, you guys understand I'm not religious. I'm I guess if you want to consider me a Christian, as far as I believe in the Christ consciousness, and I believe in the teachings of Yeshua, the master teacher. But I'm not a believer in the religious Christian church, whatever denomination that would be, and so I know that sounds complicated, but it's really not. Like, look, I study everything, so obviously the Bible's part of that study, and there's a lot of truth in the Bible, folks, and there's also a lot of misdirection. It's not a book written by God, for those that think it is. It's a book. It's a compilation of books written by men. Okay? And out of the Old Testament, what I find for me, as far as value and reference, is in the Old Testament, I find quite clearly that the Old Testament stories are about the Anuna, the Anunnaki, the same council of gods that are in the cuneiform stories. And I find that the same characters in the cuneiform are in the Bible. They just go under different names, different titles, but essentially they're the same characters. And so, and I've already explained to you guys, like the Genesis story, how it, when you read it alongside the Atrahasis and some of the other cuneiform, creation stories and such, like the Adam and Eve stories, you find that they all cross-reference. But I've always found fascinating, since I was in high school, was Revelation. Because Revelation's really odd. When you read the whole Bible, and I have read the whole Bible front to back a few times in my life, you notice when you get to Revelation, it seems a lot different from the rest of the Bible. It seems like it's like an add-on, almost like if you were to tack on the book of Enoch, right, into the Bible. It's like it mixes with stories in the Bible and references in the Bible, Old and New Testament, but at the same time it also feels like it's a piece that was written by somebody else, separate from the main authors in the Bible. And I think part of that's probably due to the fact that Revelation was written later and added in, and that at the time there was a war going on. I don't mean an actual physical war, but like a war of ideologies going on, between the Roman Catholic Church, the early church, that was, state religion. And all these spin-off denominations or groups like the Cathars and the Gnostics, and that you had a lot of Platonism and Zoroastrianism and other pagan beliefs and Hermeticism that was making its way into a lot of these early Christian writings. And so the Roman Catholic Church was running around trying to put all those fires out constantly. I mean, if you don't know about the Cathars, folks, you want to know who the true Christians are, go read about the Cathars in southern France. And go read about what happened to the Cathars. And you'll see how this other religion of love, how it really operates as a institutionalized state religion. But that's another story for another day. And thank you to one of my followers or subscribers months back, that somebody I did a Zoom with, one of my regular Zoom people. They were the ones who introduced me to the Cathars and that whole story. And then I looked into it on my own, and wow, that was eye-opening. Unbelievable. Truly follow the teachings of Yeshua, the true teachings. But religion, the institutionalized state religion had to put an end to that group of people because they were too good. They were not going to comply and what's the word I'm trying to use here? Let's just say they didn't want to be part of this state, religion, this Roman Catholic Church. But, so anyways, guys, you read Revelation, you notice there's something odd about it, right? It feels different from the rest of the New Testament. And for those that say it doesn't, I don't know if look, the whole book of Revelation is allegories and hidden symbolism. And if you want to know my views on it, just from studying it many times over the last 30 years of my life, is that you can tell that it's written by a Hermeticist. You can tell that it had either a Gnostic writing it, or, and you got to understand, folks, a lot of the Gnostic writings, it's a blend of Hermeticism, Platonism with the early Christian thinking and teaching, So when you read Revelation, it definitely doesn't feel like it was one of the original Bible authors. But just getting to the prophecy of Revelation is absolutely outstanding. I mean, it's just lining up like a glove with what we're dealing with in this day and time. It's pretty amazing, actually, folks. I mean, I remember back 20 years ago, growing up, studying the Bible, doing really deep meat of the word, research into the Bible. There was this Bible teacher that really dug deep into the scripture, taught front to back to front. And I don't agree with all of his views per se, but I'll tell you what, this guy was an insane teacher. And my grandma followed his church, and this guy's name was Pastor Murray of the Shepherd's Chapel. And some of you may have heard of this little church in Arkansas. Well, Pastor Murray was like an ex-Marine, right? A Marine vet. And he was a no bullshit guy. And he taught the Bible like I've never seen in my life. I mean, word for word, cross-referencing New Testament, the Old Testament. He'd put out all these tapes every month of teachings about specific things. And then you could follow along in the Bible. And it really taught me a lot about the Bible, folks. And now as I'm older and I've learned a lot more and I've researched outside of the Bible, I've got to say he's the greatest teacher I've ever learned under as far as just strictly the Bible goes. However, Pastor Murray was not digging into the cuneiform and a lot of this other ancient teachings. He was keeping it almost exclusively to the Bible. Now, yes, he was doing some research into the Greek and the Aramaic, and some of those other languages that the Bible was written in. But he didn't really have much to say about the cuneiform and all that. And look, folks, you got to understand, this was back when I was in my early 20s, so this was early 2000s. And back then, there wasn't all this stuff going around about the Anunnaki and all that. I mean, yeah, you had Zachariah Sitchin out there, and you had Eric von Däniken, right? Chariot of the Gods, his books. So there were these people out there teaching on this stuff, but it wasn't mainstream yet, because back then the internet was still pretty new and pretty young, and it was just something I hadn't come across yet. But now that I've read, the cuneiform, a lot of the cuneiform tablets, and studied Zoroastrianism and some of the Hindu Vedic texts like the Bhagavad Gita and such, I've gained a wider knowledge and content, context for the writings that are in the Bible. And now I realize that the Bible's not original source. The Bible is, at least a lot of it, is sourced from other ancient texts in cuneiform. And you had essentially a group of people that made themselves the heroes in the story, and they remixed parts of the story, and they chose one of these Anuna god, one of these Council of the Anuna, as their chief god, as their champion god. And in the early times of Judaism, they also worshipped his consort. Yahweh's consort was Asherah. And both Asherah and Yahweh, if you do the hard research into it, you'll find that they were both Canaanite gods. Okay? But you trace that further back, they connect with the Phoenicians. I mean, look, they're all the same. The Phoenician gods, the Hittite gods, the Canaanite gods, the Babylonian god, they're all the same, folks. All the same characters with different names, but different traditions tied to them. But it's the same characters that go all the way back to Sumer, to the original Akkadian and Sumerian cuneiform, which is the Babylonian and Assyrian came later on. But the Akkadian and the Sumerian were the older, more original cuneiform tablets. And folks, you got to realize, like the Atrahasis, the Epic of Gilgamesh, the Enuma Elish, some of these cuneiform tablets, they were rewritten for thousands of years. Like, look, when Babylon was writing the Enuma Elish and they swapped out Enki as the hero and made Marduk the hero, because the city of Babylon worshipped Marduk as the top god. Well, Marduk was the son of Enki. But in the original Sumerian version, at least the fragments we have of it, because it's much older than the Babylonian version, it's Enki is the one who vanquishes Tiamat. And you know what Tiamat stands for, right, folks? You know, the sea god, the sea dragon goddess. It actually represents time and matter, okay? It's all allegory, folks. Like, all these cuneiform, they're allegories. So, how's this all tied into Revelation? Well, folks, Revelation is a mixture of different teachings, of different... so whoever wrote Revelation was pulling from Hermetic teachings, Gnostic teachings, some Zoroastrian teaching, and yes, the early church teaching. okay? It was an amalgamation. You can tell that it's heavily symbolized, hidden symbology and allegories in that. And it's probably because whoever wrote it understood they had to walk a fine line. They had to make it so that it could get adopted by the early church and added into the Bible. But they understood they had to do it in a way that it was like code speak, right? Just like you have to do with YouTube now, right? We have to code speak, when we're doing our videos here, because they'll censor or demonetize or pull videos down if they don't like you using certain code words. So back then, a lot of writers would do the same. They would encode their writing. Nostradamus was famous for this. That's why he encoded all of his prophecies. He could have plainly wrote his prophecies, but he knew that the church would burn him at the stake. So he couldn't do that. He had to walk a fine line, and he was friends with the king, and sort of an advisor, you could say, because he was a very well-known, famous person even in that time. And he had to be very careful between the church and the king, right? Please the king, but also not get the Pope on him, because we all know what happened with look, folks, for those of you that romanticize Christianity being a religion of love and peace, you're ridiculous. It never has been. It was literally a religion of pretty much genocide for over 1,000 years in the Middle Ages, okay? Even within their own kind. Look at all the wars even between the different denominations of Christianity. Look what they did to the New World, to the indigenous peoples around the world. Everywhere it went, it spread. They destroyed the original cultures and religions and forced people at the sword to convert or, be dismissed. So look, folks, stop romanticizing about it, okay? Christianity has never been a religion of peace. Now, the teachings of Yeshua, absolutely. Yeshua was a true person of love, true teacher of love. He was like the Buddha of love. He was the master teacher about love in the higher realms. And more than likely, Yeshua had a near-death experience, or what it looks like from the research is that he went through the OBE near-death experience rituals in the mysteries of Egypt when he traveled to Egypt. They had ceremonies. They put you in these sarcophagi for 3 days. You would meditate in these things and be in total darkness. There was a whole ritual to it. You probably had to take some plant medicine and stuff, and you would have an out-of-body experience. And imagine being a master teacher, mystic, what you could bring back to humanity when you crossed over on the side of the veil. What if Yeshua crossed over and he met with the source and with angels? You would call the guides and stuff on the other side. And then he came back and brought that knowledge to humanity. It's not that hard to figure out, folks. Look, if you ever listen to all the NDEs I have, look, they talk about a lot about what these master teachers taught. And only people that crossed over on the other side of the veil and were able to come back could bring that knowledge back to humanity. But what happened was they became deified, and they made a religion off of it. I just want to make all that clear for those of you that don't know that or don't know where I'm coming from, but just anyways. So this is obviously going to be just a part 1 to this revelation, and I kind of did a video on this the other day too, right? But what's interesting is in this day and time, when you go read Revelation right now, you are watching these bowls of wrath, these trumpets being blown right now, the 4 horsemen, right? You're already watching this. They've already started their attacks on humanity. Remember the 1/3 died of war, 1/3 to pestilence, disease, right? 1/3 to starvation. All, just a mass dismissal of the world's, people, right? And it's all you read about it in Revelation. And it's interesting because what did they do to us, right? With the jabbies. And what is the long-term effects of that? Well, according to some scientists coming out right now, doctors that are just starting to put out peer-reviewed papers, they're talking about now mass sterilization. That a lot of people that got these things have been sterilized. Like literally, they're finding men's sperm is turning into like spike proteins. I kid you not, folks. Look it up. And that women's eggs were like, a lot of them were like basically wiped out of their, women have like already have their eggs preloaded, right? Well, they're finding that a lot of them they lost a lot of their eggs, and the ones they have now may not be suitable for, impregnation. So, look, this is something that we won't know the ramifications of this until probably about 10 years down the road. And this ain't even going into all the, the sudden stuff, right? Yeah. This is the long goal of the globalists. And they got it well over probably 50% of the world's population to take this stuff. Now imagine all the young people in their 20s and 30s that took this stuff, in their teens, that may now never be able to have kids ever again. And look, hey man, Bill Gates talked about it, right? With his campaigns in Africa and India and such, right? He already told you what the jabbies were really about, right? Why it was so important to get these into all these people, especially in third world countries. So that could end up being 1/3 of the world's population. I mean, population collapse, right? If you can't have kids from the younger generation, you'll have a massive collapse when that ripple makes its way through the ages. And then, of course, we've got what they're pushing for right now. Yeah. This is the touchy subject I was talking about, folks. I think I went a little too hard on this in my last video. I had to delete it because I just knew it wouldn't make it. But how should I carefully say this? What's going on right now between the Judeans and the Persians? See, folks, the world elite, the globalists, have been pushing for a world conflagration here. They thought they were going to get it tipped off with, with what's going on with the bear. You know who the bear represents, right, folks? And their little cousin, right, to the east. They thought that they could get it kicked off with that. And then when it looked like things were starting to cool down, they moved over to India and Pakistan, right? And now they started it with them. And then luckily that was able to get settled down. That could have ended up turning into a world thing. And now they're at it again. And now it's just straight up gung-ho, no holds barred. They're going for it. It's a very dangerous situation we're in, folks. Remember 1/3 from war in Revelation? Well, this could turn into that 1/3. So we already got the 1/3 with the, the stuff, the poison, right? The potions. And now we're lining up possibly this world conflagration starting. And those of you that know Revelation, you all know what happens to that little country, right? Right? That this is all about. You all know, right? The abomination of desolation, right? Stands in the place of the ruins. The Antichrist, right? Rebuilds his seat of power from that little nation, right? On its ruins after this massive attack and destruction. And all the armies meeting in the Valley of Megiddo, right? That's where Armageddon comes from, the saying. It's in Revelation. It's the Valley of Megiddo where all of the nations' armies all meet to do the final battle, right? Well, that's all it's supposed to take place in that little place. And what does it talk about? Who's involved in that war? Well, it's the kings of the East. Well, who are the kings of the East? Well, folks, that'd be the Persians. That would be the Chinese. And that would be, and then it talks about even the bear, being involved, right? So, I mean, you can understand, folks, what these nations, and look, Pakistan, you know who they ally with, right? That's why the whole India-Pakistan thing, they were pushing on it. Look, they're trying to kick this off. They're trying to force Armageddon, folks. This is a textbook. I've told you guys before. Not only is Revelation a prophecy, but it's a war plan. It's a script. At some point, somebody figured out the encoding on all this stuff. And here we are now. We are watching them push for all of this right now. Sorry, one moment, folks. I'm trying to get my car situated, and somebody's kind of parked in a hard spot right here. So it's making it hard for me to back in and get set up where I'm normally supposed to get set up. Okay, there we go. So, anyways, folks, I'm going to have to go. It's a Monday, and it's going to be horrendous. Any more work is always horrendous. It's just, more work, less pay, right? It's the American way, right? Pay your taxes as they devalue our money, as they bankrupt the whole nation, right? As they launder all of our money away. But be a good little worker slave, right? And keep making money for the big boys that, Anyways, sorry, folks. So, Revelation, we're going to have to get back into this tomorrow. But I guess I just wanted to leave with you guys the fact that, look, we're watching a lot of this stuff take place. And I didn't even get into yet in Revelation the transhumanist stuff with the mark of the beast and all of that, right? Trust me, we're already there too. They're lining all this up. And I didn't even get into the other horseman, the one that causes the starvation, right? The one with the scales, and all that. We're watching it all take place, folks. We have front row seats to the end right now. It is interesting. People that have NDEs, they're told on the other side that this is the time when all the spirits wanted to incarnate onto Earth, because it's like the grand finale of the play, of the movie, right? Of this age. And a lot of spirits wanted to take place when this was going on. And, well, folks, we're watching it, right? I mean, it's just, the last 8 years have been just unbelievable. I mean, it's been insane. I can't, just look, 10 years, go back 10 years and think about what life was like. And who would have known in just 10 years' time to this point, all the stuff that has happened? I mean, just the massive upheaval and systems collapsing and being changed, and the push for the, all these new technologies, this that are in these, these jabbies and all this, all these conflicts being pushed, and this push for the transhumanism, and it's so much, folks. It's just crazy. But anyways, guys, we'll pick this back up. I know I didn't get to go into a lot of the detail, but I was trying to kind of set the backdrop right. But I'm telling you, go read part of the New Testament and then go read Revelation, and you'll know what I mean. It's it's a separate book. It's I always felt when I was young that it was something separate from the Bible, but it was added to the Bible. But yes, it does cross-reference to the Bible, to the New and Old Testament. So it was obviously written by somebody that knew the Bible front to back very well. And they could have had guides or something that were guiding them in the writing of it. Okay, I'm not denying that. The person that wrote it could have had a near death or an OBE, and he got information, and he came back with that, and he wrote it down. Okay, but anyways, guys, we'll pick it back up. Hey, I appreciate you guys. I love you guys. If you're interested in the Zooms, hit me up. If you book an hour or more, you'll get a thank you gift of some rhodolite garnets that I collect personally. I gem hunt on some of my days off when I go hiking and stuff. And if you book 2 hours or more now, we are now making these awesome. You can't really see it here. I'm planning on doing a video to show you guys some of this jewelry my wife and I are starting to make. But this is like gemmy, like river, polished, beautiful little purple rhodolite garnets, and they're in like a little pendant, pretty cheap little necklace, but it's these are powerful, folks. It's I gotta tell you guys about these things. They're amazing. I'm not a big crystal guy and all that, but my eyes have been open since I started wearing this pendant for a week. And you book 2 hours with me, you'll get one of these as a thank you. And that's also, you get a copy of the Zoom and stuff. So anyways, guys, I'd love to connect with some of you guys. Look, there may be a time when I move away from this, or have other things going on, or there may be a day, hopefully, when this channel blows up, and I may not have the time to do like these personal Zooms and all that. So, and my family and I, we've got other things going on too. So the YouTube stuff is becoming a smaller part of all these other things that I've got, projects I've got going on, and things that I'm trying to get done, to kind of get us out of the hole, and so to speak. So, but I don't want to leave all this behind. I mean, look, I've been doing content creation and social media for 10 years dedicated, and Facebook really robbed me, and YouTube's kind of my last holdout here. So I'm hoping that this can continue to go and grow, but YouTube is shadow bans this page, this channel, and I upset a lot of people. Look, a lot of atheists I upset, and a lot of Christians I upset, and Muslims too, if I guess any would pop on the but look, folks, this is for those that really want to know the truth, and that it's not being relayed to them by somebody that's religious, that has already picked a side or picked a belief system. Okay, so anyways, you guys know my content, those of you that follow me, and if you're new to me, then go check out some of my videos and you'll see what I mean. I'm a straight shooter. I tell you guys what I think, and the only candy coding I do is just to get around the algorithms, okay, code speak and such, and to try to get a way around some of the censorship. It's not to trick you or anything, right, or to deceive you. That's all it is. I hope you can read between the lines and know what I'm talking about. But anyways, guys, hey, I appreciate you guys. I love you guys. Any information you need, you'll find in the descriptions under my videos, and I will talk to you later.